Not only are there more kids who are affected by obesity, but those who are more obese than we've seen before, even more obese. And so when you have greater levels of obesity, you have many more problems with orthopedic development, cardiovascular issues that now we're starting to see not only in adulthood, but we're seeing in childhood as well. So one of the major findings of this study is that we are really not at a consensus. We can't agree as to whether or not it is our role to intervene with childhood obesity as far as physical therapy within the schools.
So in a nutshell, what was the attitude you found among physical therapists?
So one of the really interesting findings is that the younger therapists, those with less experience, tend to embrace that role in intervention with childhood obesity more so than those older therapists who have already had clinical experience working with kids. And so it sort of hints that there might be some changes coming down the pike with our profession. It takes a whole team to address the issue of childhood obesity, and physical therapy is uniquely positioned to play a role, especially for those kids who are profoundly affected by the problem.
So the problem is clearly very big and is growing by the day. It's already has reached very epidemic proportions in high income countries like the USA and the UK and Australia. But increasingly, even within the urban parts or the cities of countries like India and Brazil and China, it's increasing very rapidly. And right now, depending on what figures you read, anywhere between 20 to 40% of children are getting overweight and obese in many of these countries.
The question that I aimed to answer was, what is physical therapy's role, and specifically for school district physical therapists? A child spends a good part of their day, 5 days a week, in schools. So it's an opportunity to influence that lifestyle for that child. And so working on being healthy and being active is a very important piece.
What did you find out in your survey? Did you find that physical therapists regard it as part of the job?
Well, I think we're all over the place. But I also think it's kind of changing. When we see these kids who are profoundly overweight, they're going to have developmental impacts. So the skeletal systems are not going to form because of the forces put upon them. Physical therapy looks at pathology, and then pediatric physical therapy has to have a crystal ball and predict the future based upon what you're seeing at the time. And so I think we have a huge role that we can play that goes along with our typical practice, because we can see what's going on biomechanically with these kids and then try to project what problems they may have as adults.
What specific activities do you think physical therapists might encourage children to do, even if it wasn't the formal physical therapy manoeuvres?
So I think in some ways this isn't so different to adults, but it might be even more important in children to focus on something which they enjoy. I think it has to be something fun, something that they're doing because they value the activity, not just simply because they're trying to do it for health or something like that. I think in adults can understand the investment of time and how that's going to yield benefit to them as an individual. I think for children, it's even more important to make sure that they're doing it for the value of the activity, that it's something that they enjoy. And then after that, it's a case of pretty much anything goes. Anything where you are burning energy above your resting metabolism will bring that child some benefit. So whether it's playing games, whether it's skipping or hopping, or whether it's out in the garden, on the trampoline, whether it's whatever that is, will all be of direct benefit and will add up over a week or a month or a year to a health value for that child.
In terms of what the health professionals can do, I think they have a very important role to play. Clearly there's a big role for the policy makers to play, but that will take its time coming, and it's not easy to change environments very quickly. So the health professionals have a key role because they're on the front end of interaction with the communities. They need to have enough knowledge themselves so they can communicate the healthy diet and activity, and then also they need to be more familiar with more sort of psychological and other tools that people can use in their day-to-day interaction, because we all have this tendency to take food and not exercise. And we need a little bit more than education going through our lives to manage that better.
So I think the take-home message to the physical therapists is that we pretty much need to decide for ourselves what our treatment philosophy is and what our role is in embracing this problem. I think maybe our focus needs to be on working with those kids who really need more help than just signing up for soccer and not drinking as much soda and staying away from the TV. There are kids who really are in trouble, and I think we are uniquely positioned to be able to help those kids.